host, Ray. Let's get down to it. So for tonight's episode, I'm shipping our very first lesbian couple, Captain Marvel and Spider-Woman. Now this is the Carol Danvers version and the Jessica Drew version. And these two have been in the Marvel Universe for about 30 some odd years, 40 years-ish. Both very underrated characters as far as I'm concerned. Both incredibly underused up until the 2010s when writers started really incorporating them into a bunch of stories. So before I get to the juicy why should they be together, let's talk about exactly what has led them to this point and why their backgrounds make them perfect for each other. I'll start with Carol Danvers. Now, she is gone by so many different names. She started out as Major Carol Danvers in 1968, and she eventually got her own series under the Ms. Marvel name. At the time, she was given quite a few different powers, which has been tweaked over the years. She has also gone by Binary, Warbird, back to Ms. Marvel, and now she is Captain Marvel in honor of Captain Marvel, who was responsible for her powers. Now, you know her as this big, heavy hitter. She can fly, she has incredible strength, she can absorb a lot of energy, albeit magic makes her a little weak, kind of like Superman. And she can use that to her advantage. She doesn't redirect it like, say, Bishop does, but she absorbs it and then she uses it to her strength. Now, just to enhance it, over the years, she has had quite a varied and non-explored backstory. The most ridiculous storyline she's been a part of has been dubbed the rape of Ms. Marvel, and it involves her being kidnapped from the Avengers, taken by an interstellar character named Marcus. She was brainwashed, and during that time finally raped and impregnated with just what is essentially another version of Marcus. He came out and grew at an accelerated rate, and then when she returned to Earth finally, she didn't remember any of this. The writers really tried to make that story go away because it is essentially one of the worst storylines in all of Marvel history. It doesn't even serve a purpose. It was just to give her character a focus in the most horrendous way possible. I'm not one of those feminist people that think that rape doesn't exist and therefore we shouldn't talk about it in art. It's just that this one had no point. There was no serving a larger purpose. There was no let's have her become a bigger, better character because of this, or let's have her be an activist. Let's show her teaching others how to deal with that and overcoming what it means to be a victim or a survivor. And instead, it was male writers not knowing how to write a female character, not knowing how to create a female character, not knowing what to do with a character who wasn't being used. So that in itself is just a reason for her character's redemption in the 2010s when they started focusing on her, when she started getting more love. Now, she also has a big thing with the X-Men. She decided to take on Rogue for a while, and Rogue essentially killed her. They used the word killed for a while, but she came back with a vengeance. That's how Rogue got the power of flight and super strength permanently. And Ms. Marvel came back, and the two of them had kind of a head-to-head, very tense relationship since, both her and Rogue. Now, when they finally figured out what to do with Ms. Marvel, they hit it on the head. They knew exactly where she fit in. She started being a part of the Avengers during Disassembled, during Secret Invasion, during Civil War. She was a huge part of that and started becoming bigger and bigger. She took Tony's side in Civil War. She registered herself. She fought against the Skrulls during Secret Invasion, and she developed a very small relationship with Wonder Man for a while. For those of you who don't know who he is, he's made out of some sort of matter, and I don't remember what it is, but he's a side character, again, often forgotten about, not very important. Now, Ms. Marvel is incredibly powerful. She is basically, when it comes down to it, the equivalent powers-wise as Wonder Woman. She's not Amazonian. She is instead alien. She is infused with Kree power, and that's why she can do all these amazing things. She is also a soldier, first and foremost. She's worked in the military. She's worked for SWORD in space. She's headed up some of the most official parts of the government in Marvel canon. So she's also got that warrior instinct as well as the discipline. As of lately, under the Captain Marvel name, she has started her own group of women fighter pilots under the Captain Marvel or Carol Danvers and the Captain Marvel Corps, I believe is what it's called, or maybe I swapped that Captain Marvel and the Carol Danvers Corps. Either way, it's a great series. I started reading it, and I think you should too. So let's move on to Spider-Woman. Jessica Drew was created back in 1970 in the spirit of comics doing the let's create a female off of our male characters. Now, the thing is, she has nothing to do with Spider-Man, and the two of them aren't connected at all. So Spider-Woman is basically just a name. Now, there's a couple different origin stories. One was that she was infused with a serum and put in an accelerator to a certain degree. However, her aging was decelerated, and after decades of being in this pod, she awoke only being 17 years old. She became kind of a detective. She's named after Nancy Drew, but that didn't really work. She was headhunted, I guess, by Hydra and convinced her that they were a good organization. Now, if you've been paying attention to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you know by now that Hydra is not good. They are the Nazi R&D company, but they had obviously convinced quite a few people, both in the Marvel Universe and in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and in the Marvel Comic Books universe, that they are worth working for. So once she figured out what that was, she left and she went out on her own. Since then, she's kind of gone off, used a couple different names herself, including Arachne, but she's always been Jessica Drew, and she's gone back to Spider-Woman most of the time. And during Civil War is when she started getting picked up again. Her individual sales kind of flopped during the 70s and 80s, but in 2006, she was used in the Civil War. She started out being pro-registration. However, basically kind of figured out that not everything was good-hearted about it. Not everything was open and honest and with the best intentions in mind. So she deflected and joined the Secret Avengers with Luke Cage and Captain America leading. And she ended up being the Skrull Queen in 2008 when they did Secret Invasion. It was really kind of neat. Brian Michael Bendis maintains that you can notice certain things even back during the Civil War. I'm not so sure. I'll have to reread, I guess. But when her doppelganger came back and everybody was furious with her, she went underground. They did a great digital comic for her online and showed how she had to rebuild her name. She had to make sure that nobody thought Spider-Woman was a bad person, when after everything the Skrulls did, it kind of proved that she was. You know, it was hard for the general public, for even some good guys, some X-Men, some Avengers, some of the Fantastic Four, to see Spider-Woman and not remember the Skrull Queen. So she had to detach. She had to build her name up again. And since then, her ongoing comic book has been very successful. She's had quite a few important roles in both the post-registration Siege, Fear Itself, as well as the new Secret Wars line, where she was a huge part of the Spider-Verse. When they stopped everything just now, they rebooted both hers and Captain Marvel series. So if you need to catch on, here's a great chance to do that. You're probably only 2 issues behind. Spider-Woman, much like Captain Marvel, she's really never been paired with a male in a relationship situation. So aside from Wonder Man and Captain Marvel's terrible rape storyline in the 1970s, the two of them don't have any huge loves of their life. So why not put them together? Nobody has really done these two characters justice up until the last 10 years, with both of them being misunderstood, both by writers and by audience members and by some of the Avengers. There's no reason why we can't get them together. They're strong women. They have a lot in common. They would be the couple that always stood their ground, that you see bickering one minute and then hugging and kissing the next minute. They would have their own careers. They would leave their careers at home, or not at home, excuse me. They wouldn't bring their careers at home. Home would be a place for them to love. It wouldn't be a partnership. You're not going to see Captain Marvel and Spider-Woman team up most of the time, but if either of them were in trouble, you bet the other one would be right there. Whether they're in a platonic friendship or a romantic relationship, I have the feeling that those two would really just get along, hit it off. They truly belong together. I don't know what it is about them, but they're just pretty perfect for each other. You can tell by the way they both lead themselves throughout their lives. They just deserve some sort of romantic relationship with each other. Now, will you get to see this in the comics? Here's what I'm thinking. If Marvel were to see this video ever and listen to my reasoning, I bet you anything that we would see it in the comics. Here's why. As of recently, both Marvel and DC have become much more diverse, which is incredibly important. Everybody needs representation. And while you don't have to do something special to make a big statement, that's not what this has to be. It doesn't have to be an LGBT statement. It's really good for the storyline. They would create fantastic stories just with each other. The dynamic of them being on different Avengers teams, being solo heroes one minute, being a duo the next, it would create some really good storylines and push Marvel into a complete new area. Now, Captain Marvel on her own is getting a movie in the next few years. It was originally slated for 2018. Now it's going to be 2019. But she doesn't have a romantic interest. And romantic interest, while not necessary to a superhero movie, it does add a depth of humanity to the characters. Who are they going to pick? Well, Spider-Woman is a perfect character. She is underused. She is a great character to add to the Avengers. We're lacking female characters in the MCU anyway, so give the two of them a good movie together. It would be an interesting story as well as good representation of a healthy LGBT relationship as well as two strong Avengers on screen. So that would be absolutely fantastic. Now, until then, until a Marvel person sees this video, it's not going to be in the comics. Why? Because the two are doing so well separately without a romantic entanglement at this time that there's no reason for any of the writers to add one in there as of now. There's a good chance that we could see some dates or some one-night stands because writers love to do that for some reason, but I doubt they're going to get together. However, once a writer sees this, maybe I'll tag a couple of them in there. It should happen. Marvel is incredibly progressive now and could make this happen. So what do you think about our latest episode? What's your opinion about Captain Marvel and Spider-Woman? I want to hear. Let me know in the comments. Contact me on Facebook. I'm Ray, of course, of the Super Sirens. You can contact me on that page or at thegriddaily.com or on the Grid Daily Facebook. Now we've got a couple of cool things coming up for you. This was our very first episode that was user suggested. My friend Zach, hi Zach, decided to give me this I Ship It, and I ship it. So I want you to suggest 2 characters for me to ship. If it appears on the season 1 comic book themed episodes, we're gonna send you a t-shirt, an I Ship It t-shirt. Okay? Let me know what you think. Comments below. Have a good night.